Hey guys, welcome back to Side View. So what we're going to do today is that we're going to continue our second block of the reaction related to the interview of Benjamin Netanyahu that was conducted by the trigonometry guys, Konstantin, Kisin, and Francis. And obviously, as we did for the first block, we're going to try to intervene whenever necessary. So, okay, let's keep it rolling now.
Have you and the people of Israel had time to grieve what happened, to process what happened to thousands of your people?
To grieve, yes. To fully absorb this savagery, I think is more difficult because you seldom encounter such bestial behavior. In fact, I don't think you encounter it among beasts. I mean, the deliberate raping and murder of women, the beheading of men, the burning of babies in front of their children, the kidnapping of innocent people, grandmothers, Holocaust survivors, their grandchildren. It is savagery on a scale that we haven't seen since the Holocaust. And I think that it affirmed to me that we're fighting a battle against barbarism, the battle of civilization against barbarism. And there isn't a symmetry between the two. Today, in this world of relativism, yes, of course, everybody is the same. No, we're not. We're not the same. We don't prosecute wars that way. We don't engage in such horrors. We don't deliberately mutilate human beings. This is not what distinguishes our actions, but it distinguishes theirs, and they do it with a fiendish glee. They come with GoPro cameras. This is savagery on a scale that is hard to absorb. But I'll tell you what it taught me. It said to me that we're not merely fighting the battle for our survival. We're fighting the battle for civilization against barbarism. And that was true in the beginning of the war. And it's true. It's still true today, even though some in the West refuse to acknowledge it.
All right, let me first start by addressing Konstantin's question, which seems fair at first sight. Indeed, October 7 was horrible. People died, families were torn apart, and of course, Israelis are still grieving, still living with that trauma. Nobody can deny that pain. No matter the reason why October 7 was perpetrated, people suffered and people are still suffering. But here's the thing, every time it feels like we're only asked to feel one kind of pain. We're told over and over again, look at what happened to Israel. Look at how much they've suffered. And sure enough, it is true. On October 7, they've suffered a great deal. But I would ask, what about the Palestinians? Do they not get to grieve too? Because since 1948, Palestinians have been killed. They've been displaced. They've been bombed. They've been tortured and humiliated. Mothers have buried their kids. Kids have been growing up without their parents. Entire families have been wiped out. Do we ever stop and ask, have they had time to grieve? Or is their pain somehow less important than the pain of the Israelis? So let's be real a little bit. There's also this story that gets told, like Israelis were just peaceful, minding their own business, when suddenly, out of nowhere, comes the savages. Just because they love blood and violence, as it is in their genes, as if they had nothing better to do than to invade Israel for fun and raid it. But we know that's not the truth. History didn't start on October 7th. We know that. There's been decades of occupation, dispossession, and violence that has led us here. And pretending otherwise is dishonest, to say the least. And that's exactly why I find Konstantin's questions disingenuous, because it carries that emotional weight of the peaceful Israeli attacked for no reason other than being Jewish by bloodthirsty barbarians, as Netanyahu calls them. And that framing, to me, hides the real history and reduces everything, in my opinion, to a one-side story, where the Palestinians are the bad guys and the Israeli the good guys, while history paints us another picture made out of Palestinian blood. Now, regarding Netanyahu's response, what strikes me first is the way he talks about Hamas, not just as enemies, not just as killers, but as something less than human. He doesn't even stop at calling them animals anymore. He says they are worse than beasts, they are sub-beasts. That kind of language obviously is not accidental. It's the kind of dehumanization you need when you want to justify anything. Because once your enemy is no longer human, then anything you do to them becomes acceptable. Every bomb dropped on Gaza, every children killed, every journalist targeted, every hospital and school reduced to rubble, all of it can be excused by saying, well, it is Hamas' fault. That's what this rhetoric is all about. It is not just words, it's a cover for atrocities. Now, let's talk about the atrocities of October 7th. Nobody denies that it was horrific. People were killed, civilians taken hostage. That's the reality. But Netanyahu goes further. He says women were systematically raped. Yet, no credible proof has ever been produced. Many of those reports have been debunked by investigators. Meanwhile, there is actual evidence, including videos, of Israeli soldiers raping Palestinian prisoners. So if we're talking about rape as a weapon of war, the finger points back at Israel, not Hamas. Then Netanyahu goes on saying babies were burned in front of their parents and parents killed in front of their children. But even his own words collapse. He actually says, and listen very carefully, babies burnt in front of their children. You heard? Babies burnt in front of their children. What does that even mean? This is the kind of storytelling that falls apart under its own exaggeration. And here's the irony. If we're talking about atrocities, Israel know a thing or two about committing atrocities. Let's not forget 1948, when Palestinian women were raped, pregnant women cut open and their babies killed inside them, when entire villages were massacred and their corpses dumped into wells, when babies were literally thrown into ovens. That's not rumor. That's documented history. And ever since then, Palestinians have lived under occupation, checkpoints, siege, bombing, all acts of brutality that never been called savagery, but somehow, some way, have always been called security. Every accusation Netanyahu makes is, in truth, a confession of Israel's own history. And then there is this part. He says Israel is fighting the battle of civilization against barbarism. The battle of, nothing less, the battle of civilization against barbarism. Seriously? Listen, are we supposed to believe that Hamas, with their AK-47, RPGs, and homemade rocket, are threatening to wipe out civilization itself? No, I'm asking you, I mean, does that make sense? Hamas, that militia trapped in Gaza, is about to end the human race. That's fantastic. Delusional. That's not an argument. That's a bedtime story for the gullible. Either Netanyahu think we are complete idiots, fools, and I do believe that's what he thinks, or he thinks that his suit and title and his good look on the podcast are enough to make us swallow anything. And I also believe that's what he thinks. And then he says the following: there is no symmetry about Hamas and Israel. That Israel does not commit horrors. But we've seen what Israel does, not just since October 7, but since 1948. Gaza reduced to rubble, thousands upon thousands of civilians killed, children starved, journalists assassinated, hospital bombed. And we're supposed to believe that this isn't horror, that Israel's hands are clean. Well, I think he's got another thing coming. Because if anything, Israel is worse. Because this isn't just a one day of violence thing. It's systematic. It's state policy. It's decades of occupation dressed up as, you would have guessed, defense. And let's not pretend that those guys that are here giving the interview, Konstantin and Francis, don't know anything about it. They're smart guys. We know, at least they look smart. They've read reports. They've seen footage. They know Israel itself admits to spending over $100 million of propaganda. And if they don't know, we know that. So to me, to us, I mean, it's not surprising if a little piece of offering made its way to their pockets, you know? Because frankly, I'm gonna tell you, to sit there nodding along while Netanyahu spins his story, that's not journalism, guy. That's not journalism. That's complicity. And here's what horrifies me most, though. To hear Netanyahu talk like this while he's actually perpetrating a genocide, thousands of civilians dead, Gaza destroyed, a world population, people being erased before our eyes. And on top of that, don't forget, there are serious allegations that he had information of October 7 happening before October 7. Israeli soldiers testified in court that they were ordered to stand down, not to patrol the Gaza border that day. Which means that we may be looking at a man who not only unleashed a genocide on the Palestinians, but also allowed his own people to die, sacrificed them to create the justification for his own personal genocide. Or I would say for his own personal survival. No matter what his survival means to you, or to him, or to anyone. Now, if that's true, then Netanyahu is operating on a level of evil that is beyond anything we can imagine. Worse than Hitler, in my sense. Because not only is he committing a genocide, but he may have knowingly let October 7 happen, condemning thousands of Israelis to death and captivity, just to realize his goal of taking and controlling Gaza, and his goal, by the same token, of the greater Israel. That's not leadership. That's not civilization. That's pure darkness. That's pure evil. And the fact that he sits there in a suit telling the world bedtime stories while doing it, and to see those guys acknowledging, that should terrify all of us. Again, that should terrify all of us. Share, like, subscribe, comment. And part 3 of that reaction video of Benjamin Netanyahu is going to follow up in a couple of days, guys. Be patient. Talk to you later.